Borough Council to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence for the armed services? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Brenda, may we please have roll call?
Counselor Barry.
Here.
Counselor Catalani.
Here.
Counselor Garber.
Here.
Counselor Miller.
Here.
Counselor Quiroli. Here. Counselor Chishay.
Here.
Counselor Shear.
Here.
Mayor Carpenter. We have a quorum.
Okay. Just a reminder to please silence all cellular devices during the meeting tonight. Thank you. And we have no special visitors, which takes us to a public hearing for the liquor license transfer request at 1 East Main Street. I'm going to turn it over to Giselle Cleary, who is our solicitor.
Okay, as the president said, my name is Joselle Cleary. I am the borough solicitor. What is occurring now is a public hearing under the liquor code. The public hearing is on a request for an intermunicipal liquor license transfer for restaurant liquor license number R16170, which is currently held by Ninkovich LLC, located at 800 Cumberland Street in Lebanon, and there is a request to transfer that liquor license to 1 East Main Street, Palmyra. The liquor code requires that the Borough Council hold a public hearing. There is a court reporter here to make a stenographic record of the hearing because there is a right for persons to file an appeal to the Lebanon County Court of Common Pleas. So council, which is acting as a hearing body in this proceeding, is making an official record. Because there is a court reporter present, council requests that you make the court reporter's job easier. Only one person may speak at a time. The first time that you speak, you need to state your name and spell your name. No matter how simple you think your name is, please spell it. After all, Ann is spelled A-N-N and A-N-N-E, and the borough wishes for the record to be complete and correct. As I indicated previously, this hearing is a request for an intermunicipal liquor license transfer. I have pre-marked 2 administrative exhibits for the record. Administrative Exhibit 1 is an email chain which constitutes the application for this hearing. The borough was contacted by a man named Christopher, spelled with a C, Behney, B-E-H-N-E-Y, who requested that council hold the hearing. And those emails are between Mr. Behney and myself to attempt to get information necessary for the legal advertisement which the liquor code requires. Borough Administrative Exhibit 2 is a letter from me to Mr. Bainey, the only person who contacted the borough about this hearing, informing him of the date, time, and place of the hearing, providing him with a copy of an email from the Lebanon Daily News with the legal advertisement, and providing him with the invoice from the Lebanon Daily News with a direction that Mr. Bainey was to reimburse the borough for its legal advertising costs in conducting this hearing. And both of those exhibits are part of the record of this hearing. Borough Council is under time limits in the liquor code to consider and act on this matter. The liquor code requires that Borough Council adopt a resolution to approve or deny a request for an intermunicipal liquor license transfer. That has to be done within 45 days of the date of the application, and as I previously said, the application is an email chain. Or if council notifies the applicant in writing, council may take up to 60 days to render a decision, but because the decision must be rendered by resolution, the decision must be made at a public meeting. Since there is a time limit and since council must act by resolution in accordance with my firm's standard procedure for this type of hearing for all of the municipalities we represent, I have prepared two resolutions, one to approve and one to deny, both of which have been circulated to council so that if council desires, council may act at this meeting. Also, for the record, the property needs to be identified. I would like Assistant Borough Manager Brenda Parra to be sworn or affirmed so she can provide council with general information on the property, such as the location, the lot area, the zoning district, and what the borough's records show.
I do. This is a testimony of Brenda Parra, myself, the Assistant Borough Manager, on behalf of the Borough of Palmyra. Christopher T. Bainey Jr. purchased the property located at 1 East Main Street on October the 5th, 2022. The property lot size is 0.2 acres, and according to the Borough Code of Ordinance, Chapter 380, zoning, is located in the Central Business District. The property is listed as a commercial business and maintains 2 residential apartments on the 2nd floor. Mr. Bainey finally registered his 2 apartments under Borough Code of Ordinances, Chapter 277, Rental on Vacant Properties, in February of 2023. No tenant change forms have been received since February of 2023. Unit 1 is listed as occupied, while Unit 2 is listed as vacant. The 2024 rental registration application is not due until November the 30th of 2023. Upon settlement of the property, a final sewer and refuse invoice in the amount of $775.86 was provided to the settlement company. The final bill was paid in full through settlement escrow on October 12th, 2022. Mr. Bainey was charged for quarterly sewer and refuse usage on January 1st of 2023, April 1st of 2023, July 1st of 2023, and again on October 1st of 2023. A 30-day lien letter was sent to Mr. Bainey on May 19th of this year, and again on September 22nd of this year for delinquent sewer and refuse balance. All notices sent by certified mail have not been returned to the borough, have now been returned to the borough as unclaimed, although the first-class letters have not been returned as undeliverable. To date, the borough has not filed a lien against the property. Only one payment has been received on this account in the 12 months that Mr. Bainey has owned the property. A payment of $300 was received on October the 9th. The delinquent sewer and refuse balance is $1,768.71. Today, I was able to verify with the Lebanon County Treasurer's Office that the 2023 county and borough real estate taxes for 1 East Main Street have not been paid. The taxes are now in the penalty period, and the balance of $3,099.09 will need to be paid by December 31st, 2023, or be sent for tax claim. Additionally, the solicitor advertised the hearing notice for tonight's hearing in the Lebanon Daily News on September the 27th, 2023, and again on October 3rd, 2023, at the cost of $329.84. A letter dated September 22nd, 2023, provided to Mr. Bainey by Solicitor Cleary, advised him that he would need to reimburse the borough for the advertising costs for the hearing. As of today, the borough has not received payment for this hearing from Mr. Bainey. That is all I have in my testimony.
Thank you. Is there any person representing Mr. Bainey or the LLC that Mr. Bainey identified in his emails, Ninkovic LLC? You need to come forward. You need to use the microphone.
It's on. It should be. Andy, can you check, make sure it's on?
Hello, everyone. I am here. Should I begin my presentation?
You need to give your name. You need to give your name so the court reporter can make a record.
Yes, my name is Jim Petrascu, Petrascu. I'm an attorney representing Mr. Ninkovic, who is seated beside me there, and Ninkovic LLC, the holder of the restaurant liquor license.
Mr. Ninkovic is not the person who was dealing with the borough. Mr. Bainey was the person who contacted the borough and who dealt with me.
I'm not here representing Mr. Bainey. I was not part of those contacts. I'm here representing Mr. Ninkovic and his LLC.
What is Mr. Ninkovic's position with this, since he's not the one who contacted the borough?
Well, Mr. Ninkovic is related to Mr. Bainey as his brother. From my understanding, Mr. Bainey bought this property and is...
If you're testifying, you need to be sworn or affirmed.
I'm not testifying. I thought you wanted information.
In order for Borough Council to consider information in rendering an adjudicatory decision, all testimony must be sworn or affirmed. That's the Somerton Civic Association case. If you do not wish to be sworn or affirmed, that is your right, but council cannot then consider factual statements. Somerton is Somerton Civic Association.
Well, you asked me Mr. Ninkovic's relationship, and that was a factual assertion on my part too. So would that not be part of the record?
If you wish evidence to be considered, you must be sworn or affirmed. The liquor code is requiring that the borough hold a hearing under the local agency law. Decisions of the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court have held that there is a right to appeal. If there is a right to appeal, then there has to be a record. If you do not wish to present sworn testimony, that is your right. And counsel will act accordingly with the sworn testimony that it may have from the assistant borough manager and from any person in the audience who wishes to present sworn testimony to counsel. I'm not telling you how to proceed. I'm telling you what the law is.
I'm very familiar with the liquor code. I've been a liquor license. Told me the only I could conclude that you don't.
I am not telling you what to do. I am telling you that counsel will consider sworn or affirmed testimony. You need to use the microphone. He will have a microphone.
Does now. Is Mr. Ninkovic here? Oh.
Derek, could you come up and be seated at the table so everyone who you are and I can direct
There you go.
we can provide counsel with your testimony about this over here, if that's all right.
All right, if you raise your right hand, please.
Sure.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can I have your full name, please?
Derek Ninkovich. It's DEREK NINKOVICH. Sorry.
Counsel ready for testimony?
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Ninkovich.
You need to speak into
Good
the
evening.
microphone. The audience has to hear you and the live stream audience has to hear you.
Fine. Is that better? Is this on? I can't help. We good? Can everyone hear me?
Good catch. Hold it.
Battery's probably died. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that was mine.
That works? Do I need to hold this, Chief? Oh, we're gonna share a microphone. That's fine. Good evening, Mr. Ninkovich. You just heard the instructions from the solicitor as to how this is to proceed, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you questions out of what I was going to use as a presentation to everyone here. You understand? Okay. Mr. Ninkovich, do you have an interest in Ninkovich LLC?
I do, yeah.
And what's your interest?
The controlling member, the only controlling member?
Okay. Are there other members?
No.
Okay. And what is Ninkovich LLC?
That's my limited liability company. That's my license.
Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds like it works.
Yeah, we're good.
Please forgive me, I have to now convert my notes of presentation to questions. Derek, you also heard the presentation, didn't you, from the solicitor as to the liquor code, your liquor license, and transferring it into Palmyra Borough?
Yep.
Okay. What is the address that the liquor license is assigned to at this moment?
800 Cumberland Street, Lebanon.
Okay. Is it in operation?
No, it's in safekeeping.
Okay. Safekeeping. Can you explain? Can you explain?
Sorry, I don't know if that was me or.
Can you explain safekeeping to council members?
Well, if your license isn't in use, if you're not using it at a property, you have to put it in safekeeping with the Liquor Control Board.
Okay. How long's it been in safekeeping?
Since 2019,
Okay.
4 years.
Can you tell us, so everyone here knows, what your plan is to do with your license?
Yeah, I would like to move it into Palmyra. Was at one Main Street, and I want to open up a crab house, little bar and restaurant, eatery. That's it.
Okay. And what did you do when it was when it was in active status in Lebanon?
What was I
Did
doing?
you have a restaurant
No.
when it was active in restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Tell us about the restaurant.
What, in Lebanon?
Yeah.
It was just a little sports bar. Had it open from 2013 to 2019, and got hard to hire people. Neighborhood went downhill a little bit, and it was just rough. I was doing everything, cooking, bartending, serving. It just got to be too much, so it closed.
The restaurant, the Crab House, can you describe it for everyone in attendance here, what your plan is?
Sure. I just want to open up like a seafood eatery. I want to get fresh seafood imported from Maryland. Have a couple connections down there to get fresh seafood and just make it a nice little quaint place, and I want to have nice dinner, hours of operation from 11 to 11, nothing late, nothing crazy. Just I want to bring in a good dinner crowd.
Do you plan on offering any live entertainment at your restaurant?
No, not really. Maybe something like an acoustic during dinner or something. Nothing loud or crazy like that. No DJs or anything like that.
Okay. Now, you said from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.?
Correct.
Can you give everyone an estimation of the size of the restaurant, square footage-wise?
It's, give or take, probably a little over 2,000 square feet. Should seat anywhere from 50 to 55 people once it's all done.
Okay. And with the 50 to 55 people,
I'm not really doing anything different.
well, maybe that. Thank you. Yeah, I can hold it.
Thanks.
Okay. Everybody hear me still? Okay, thank you. Okay, so 50 to 55 people.
Correct.
What kind of seating will you offer your diners?
There'll be tables. We'll have a couple seats at the bar, stuff like that. Nothing crazy. Probably like 15 seats at the bar I plan to have, and 30 or so at tables.
Can you tell us what kind of food you're planning to offer besides seafood and crab cakes?
It'll be a full menu. Yeah, I want to have like steaks, entrees, typical appetizers, typical bar food, and the seafood side.
Let's ask about you.
Sure.
At what age did you enter the restaurant business?
About 16, started dishwashing. 18, I started serving. 21, I started bartending. Worked all over Lebanon County, the Batdorf, Rotunda, the Hideaway. And then I opened my first restaurant when I was 26 in Lebanon, the Sandler, in 2013.
How long was your restaurant in business?
How long was it open?
Yeah.
6 years, yeah. 5, 6, yeah.
Okay.
5 years, 11 months.
With regard to the local Palmyra community, do you have any plans with your restaurant adapting into the community?
Sure. I'd love to get into the community, offer discounts for local sports teams. I know you guys have a Palmyra Cougar card. I'd like to get on that, just whatever I can do.
Okay. With regard to the service of alcoholic beverages,
Sure.
Are you experienced with that?
Yeah, I'm RAMP certified. When I had the Sandler, I was owner manager, and most recently, I'm server seller now.
Well, let me stop you, okay, because these folks don't know what that is.
Okay.
When you say RAMP, what is that exactly?
It's a responsible alcohol management program. Everybody should have it that works in a restaurant. Pretty plain Jane stuff, but
And who sponsors that program?
the Liquor Control Board.
Okay. And are there different versions of that, like you mentioned seller, server?
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, if you own a restaurant or you're a manager of a restaurant, you got to get owner, manager, RAMP certification. And if you're just serving at bartending, serving tables, you just have to get server seller, RAMP certified.
Okay. And are you certified currently?
I am, yes.
Okay. In what area?
Server seller right now.
Okay. Are you aware that within so many days after hiring an employee, they need to be RAMP certified?
Yeah, I believe it's 180 days.
Yes. And what's your plan with regard to any employees you hire to sell or serve alcohol?
They have to be trained, yeah.
Train when?
Well, I wouldn't let them serve alcohol if they weren't trained, but yeah, they have to be trained before they go on the floor.
Okay. Within 180 days?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's- As a licensee, Ninkovich LLC, are you familiar with renewals at the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board every 2 years? And are you familiar with the Pennsylvania State Police Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement? What is that agency?
What, the state police?
Yeah.
They just oversee people who have a liquor license, make sure you're doing your job and, not serving underage people and being smart.
Do either or both of those agencies, as far as you know, have the power to revoke your license?
Yes. Yeah.
Do they work together, as far as you know?
Yes.
I'm sorry, council indulgence, please, for one moment. Mr. Ninkovich, if council's kind enough to grant your request and allow you to bring this license into Palmyra, and the liquor board subsequently transfers it into Palmyra, what kind of a liquor operation are you going to run? Is it going to be quiet? Is it going to be party-like?
I want to do more dinner, you know what I mean? I don't want the out-of-control stuff, just very simple, you know what I mean? Good dinner crowd, I just want to have good food,
Okay.
that's pretty much it.
Ninkovich LLC, your business, has your brother Christopher Bainey ever been part of that business? Nope, never. Has your brother Christopher Bainey ever been on the liquor license?
Nope.
Is your brother Christopher Bainey going to be on your liquor license at any point?
No.
A member of your company?
Nope.
Is he going to run this operation, or are you going to run it?
He's not. I will be running this operation.
Okay. Is he going to be involved in telling you what decisions to make with regard to your restaurant?
No.
The Borough of Palmyra?
No.
I think that's all the questions I have for you, Mr. Ninkovich. Thank you, counsel, for your time, and we are open for questions, or however your solicitor would like to run the remainder of this hearing is fine.
Is there any person in the audience who has a question for Mr. Ninkovic? This is the time for questions for the witness, not statements. You will be given a chance to present your own testimony later. Is there someone who has a question? Yes, sir. Please stand and loudly state your name and spell it.
Okay, Joseph Barone, that's Joseph, B as in boy, Arone.
And can you state your question?
Yes, my question is, where would the clientele park?
There is off-street parking, you know, and like I said, I want to be busy later. So, I mean, that's when Palmyra should die down after, you know, say if I want to be busy from like 6 to 8, you know, have a big dinner crowd. And there's a parking lot across the street. I want to talk to, it's a dance studio. I know there's a couple spots over there that have extra parking.
How many parking spaces do you have since you said the property has parking?
No, off-street parking.
Right. How many, you don't have any off-street parking?
Not a personal spot.
Okay, so
Off-street parking.
does the are you renting this property from Mr. Bainey?
Yes.
How many off-street parking spaces does the property have?
Personal spots? No, none.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's a slew of spots out front, down the side on Railroad Street.
So is it your testimony that persons are going to park on public streets?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir, please stand up, state your name, spell it, and speak loudly.
Yes, my name is Corey Dupree, C-O-R-E-Y, last name Dupree, D-U-P-R-E-E. Ms. Clary, how about 5 questions?
The questions are to him.
I just wanted to make that clear. Is that
Yep.
okay for me to ask my question?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So, could you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're fine.
If you want to use the
First
microphone.
is, what due diligence have you done that shows that there's a need for this establishment, specifically inside of town square?
It's a pretty good location. There's 6 or 7 restaurants. About a mile down the road, there's a bunch of restaurants in the area. I mean, I think it'd be a nice little spot.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it'd do really well.
No, I believe you.
Yeah, I really do.
Have like market studies, any due diligence for specifically a seafood restaurant in Palmyra, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I mean, it's something a little different, you know what I mean? It just want to be different.
All right, first question.
Sure, fire away.
Second question is, what cultural impact do you hope to have within inside of our community?
I mean, culture impact. Well, I'm not sure I really understand your question, but I mean,
We can look past that.
yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
All right. And this is more of an organizational, like structural, and this is just because Mr. Bainey's your brother, and
Sure.
as you could assume, you're probably gonna get a fair share of questions because of his past.
Sure,
Is that fair?
sure.
Okay. What trainings have you undergone to highlight your anti-racist practices for yourself and
I'm not racist. I mean, just because my brother or he, you know, people call him that doesn't mean I have anything to do with that. I'm my own person.
I'm not racist either.
Yeah.
I've undergone anti-racist training,
Sure.
right? So that wasn't my question.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's safe to say that there hasn't been any that has taken place. It's just, there are certs and DEI and classes that people can take.
Yeah, I'd be interested in them, sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Definitely.
and what corporate initiatives have or will your employees undergo to prevent another incident within your place of business?
Well, that had nothing to do with me. That wasn't my business, you know what I mean? I had nothing to do with that Anvil incident.
So,
Yeah.
forget another one.
Yeah, I've never had any issues at the Samler, you know?
I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that there were no incidents.
yeah.
But like I said, unfortunately, sometimes just by association,
Sure, guilty by association.
I guess.
Only one person speaks at a time. You two are just constantly speaking over each other. Let him ask the question before you start speaking, and let him finish his answer, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So I guess I will ask the question, is it okay if I ask the question again?
Yes.
Okay. What corporate initiatives have or will your employees undergo to prevent an incident of racism or discrepancy within your place of business?
Well, it's not gonna happen. I can guarantee you that. Like, just because it happened at another restaurant, I had no association with that restaurant. It wasn't my place. Just because he's my brother doesn't mean it's gonna happen at my place.
No,
I'm not gonna, I mean, I'm a pretty good judge of character when I hire people. You know what I mean? It's not gonna happen.
I just want to make sure it's done.
Yeah, all done.
And to piggyback off of that, are you open to having trainings for your staff and individuals within your place of business? Because I'm sure.
Of course. Sorry. But yeah,
Let him finish, please.
Nobody wakes up and says that this is what's gonna happen to me today,
no.
right? So the answer to that question is yes, then.
What's this have to do with transferring a license? I mean,
Are you refusing to answer his question?
what was the question? About training? Yeah, I would love to do training.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And the last thing, I promise, for your vendors, just because this is, like I said, business, for your vendors, are you open to sourcing, or using BIPOC, and if you don't know what that means, just stenographer, that's Black, Indigenous, persons of color, owned establishments for sourcing the crap, so being open to your vendors.
I'm open to selling anything, you know, that would sell well.
It means where you're buying them from.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I never heard that word. I don't really know what that means.
Sourcing, sorry. I'm done.
Yes, sir. Please state your name, spell your name, and speak loudly.
Charles Windsor with a G, B-R-I-N-S-E-R. My first question is somewhat related to the other question. Have you contacted any of the other people or owners in the community close to you about parking on their parking lots? You mentioned the dance studio. Have you made any arrangements with them?
I have not yet, no.
Have you contacted any of the other owners?
There's not really any owners around that have parking, you know? Or do you mean other business owners?
Other business owners, yes.
No.
So you don't know that there's any availability for the dance studio?
We're not. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
There's a parking lot just to the east, and of course, there's a parking lot to the south. Windsor Wagner where the pharmacy is located.
Yeah.
Were you thinking perhaps some of your patrons would try to park over there?
Yeah, that's a good idea, you know. Something to think about for sure. I like it.
I'll have comments later then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else with questions? Yes, sir. Stand up. State your name and spell it.
My name is Ricky Bug Senior, R-I-C-K-Y, B-U-G-G-S-R.
Thank you, sir.
My question, if I understand this correctly, Chris Bainey purchased the building. So he is gonna have no involvement, you say. I'm trying to understand, if you will, how is that he purchased it and then he's gonna have no involvement if he's the one who owns the building?
He's just my landlord. He's just leasing me the space. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, please stand, state your name and spell it.
Bronizer, Bronagh, Houser. My question is, Mr. Bailey applied for the license?
Questions are directed to him.
Lost it. You guys have nothing to do with each other?
Well, we're,
I mean, in business, how come he applied for the license?
well, I was just very busy and he helps me out from time to time.
So that's just what happened?
Yeah, that's just what happened.
And you're just brothers in his hands on it?
I'm sorry if I may, the question was he applied for the license. Can we clarify that before Mr. Ninkovich answers it?
On the emails, I should say.
Yeah, he just helped me out. That's all.
Really?
Yeah.
You think we're all just stupid?
I never
That's all I
said
have to
that.
say.
I never said that.
Yes, the one, you with the dark hair, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. You have to,
My name is Maria Altabrando. First name M-A-R-I-A. Last name Altabrando, A-L-T-E-B-R-A-N-D-O. I have a statement question.
it's a question for this witness. You have the opportunity to make statements later. If you have a question for this witness, now is the time. If you have a statement, later is the time.
Okay, I'm gonna hold off then. Thank you.
There was a woman before you.
Carol Light, C-A-R-O-L, last name L-I-G-H-T. When you were running the Sandler in Lebanon, were your employees, did they have that LAMP certification or training then?
Yes. And after the 180 days, yes.
And so, considering that, then did you have any violations with serving underage people at your establishment?
Once in 6 years, one of my bartenders served an underager. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm.
Since Ms. Light brought this up, what other violations, if any, were there in your other restaurant?
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I only had two. It was Donnie. He was a bartender at the time. He served an underager. He looked at the ID 4 or 5 times too, and gave him a bottle. And the guy walked out. And the other time, I overdrafted a beer check. Corrected on the spot. And that was it.
Well, now is the time for questions, not statements. Okay, is there anyone else? Let's start here, and then we'll move back, if that's okay.
Yeah, do you mind if I just sit, because I just, if you don't mind. My name is Jennifer, and that's Jennifer. My last name is Ruth, R-U-T-H. And I just want to identify myself as an attorney from Smigel, Anderson, and Sachs. And Mr. Ninkovich, I just was interested in knowing, you mentioned that you did not have anything to do with your brother and the incident that occurred at the restaurant Just Wing It in Annville, is that correct?
Correct.
And you said you didn't have anything to do with that business whatsoever, is that correct?
Nope. I bartended there for a little. That was it.
Then can you explain to us why it is that you're listed as a co-owner on the name Just Wing It and Just Wing It LLC? You are Derek Ninkovich, correct?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
The owners of that establishment were listed as Christopher Bainey and Derek Ninkovich. Can you explain why that would be?
In Annville?
Yeah.
No, it can't be. Maybe the old Lebanon one, but that was because him and I started that a long, long time ago, but I haven't, I worked there for like a year and then I left. Well, was at the Batdorf. I don't know if I'm still on it. It's news to me.
Have anything further?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand what just occurred. There was for the record, there was a restaurant, Just Wing It, in Annville. Is that?
Correct.
Yeah.
And was your question that Mr. Ninkovic was a part owner of that restaurant?
He's a part owner on the fictitious name Just Wing It, and he's indicated that he does not have any affiliation with Mr. Bainey nor that restaurant, and it just seems odd that he would be a
No.
co-owner on the fictitious name with the filing with the Department of State. So I just wanted him to clarify that.
Nikki Meyer owns Anvil. Just Wing It. Yeah, not Chris. I don't know. Yeah, Nikki Meyer's the owner of the business in Anvil. So.
Yeah, well, you own the name.
I don't. Well,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Justin Elliott, that's Justin, last name Elliott. You stated that Mr. Bainey wouldn't have anything to do with your business, but then we found out that he sent the email on your behalf. Is it standard business practice for your company to have your landlord do business on your behalf?
No, it's not. My brother just helped me out because I was busy. That's all.
Okay, and another follow-up question on that. You said you didn't work with him. You didn't state the time at Just Wing It and your experience with
Yeah.
owning companies and running companies, but then you did state that you worked there.
Yeah, I helped him out at Just Wing It in Lebanon in 2008. A long, long time ago. And I'm not aware that I'm on his company. I don't know why I would be.
You said you worked there as a bartender?
No. Just Wing It Lebanon only had food.
No, Anvil.
I bartended there, but Nikki Myers is the owner there.
Okay, and your brother worked there also?
He owns the building there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so he owns the building, somebody else ran the company.
Leased it, yep.
Okay, sounds good. One last question. Have you looked at what impact this might have on the other local businesses at the square? Mainly one West Main Street, and I don't know the address of Brinzer Law Firm or Lamar Pharmacy, but they're across the street where you're hoping for parking. Have you considered the business impact to their business that you would have your customers taking up their spaces?
I mean, like I said, we're really only going to be busy at night, so I don't know. You know why? I mean, Palmyra's dying down after 5 p.m.
Do you know what,
I mean-
another follow-up question, do you know what time the dance studio runs their business?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You already had one. Is there anyone? Yes,
Yes, my name is Paula, Paula, Bug, B-U-G-G. I just wanted to know the probability of Chris working in this particular restaurant.
There is no probability because he will not. I promise you that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
okay, is there anyone else who has not asked a question yet? Then you may ask a follow-up.
Thank you. Mr. Ninkovich, if you're so busy that you have to have your landlord send your application to have your liquor license transfer considered, have you considered at all, perhaps you're too busy to run a restaurant here in Palmyra?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you have plenty of time to run a restaurant,
Yeah.
but not enough time to send an email?
Well, yeah, I won't have a full-time job then. Gotcha.
Is there any redirect for your witness?
Yes, a couple questions, thank you. Mr. Ninkovich, you were asked some questions by the gentleman in the back about training, minority training. and if you'd be willing to take such training, and you told him you'd be willing to, would you be willing to have your employees take such training?
Yeah, absolutely.
What, and he also asked you a follow-up question that had to do with employees' actions. If you would find out or you would witness your employees acting in a manner that treating people differently because of any reason, skin color, size, weight, height, but specifically skin color, how would you handle that employee?
It wouldn't be tolerated. They'd be fired immediately.
Let me jump ahead and ask you, you had some questions and you provided testimony as to the bartender that served an underage person. That was a state police undercover minor, was it not?
Yes.
Okay, and when you found out your bartender did that, how did you handle the bartender? Did you do anything or
Yeah.
give him punishment at all?
Yeah, yep, I suspended him for 2 weeks.
You were also asked about potentially using minority vendors. And you plan to get your seafood from the Eastern Shore area, correct?
Correct.
Maryland, Eastern Shore. If there are vendors there that are minority vendors, will you consider using them?
Absolutely.
You're not just saying that because you want to say that?
I could care less what color the skin of the person is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so the record's clear, Mr. Bainey never helped you transfer your liquor license application.
No.
He assisted you with setting up
This-
the availability to come to this meeting?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
When you say Mr. Bainey never assisted you in transferring the license, isn't Mr. Bainey the only one who contacted the borough?
If I may, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we may be using the same term differently. When I talk about transferring a liquor license, I mean transferring a liquor license is transferring it through the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. Intermunicipally transferring it into Palmyra, I suppose is what you are directing him.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Good.
But yeah.
I wanted the
I knew
record
how
to
it could be a little
reflect that.
misleading, though.
Okay. Mr. Bainey, you agree, is the only one who contacted the borough, correct?
About this meeting, yes.
Do any members of council have questions for the witness? And for the convenience of the court reporter,
Thomas, Thomas, Miller, Miller, Vice President of Borough Council. Will you still go forward with the restaurant without a liquor license?
Yes.
I am still a little confused. Do you own the liquor license?
I do, yes.
You do own it? Correct. Okay. And the only Mr. Bainey filed through our borough the request for that, intertransfer of that.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no delinquencies with the town. It's Mr. Bainey that has the delinquents on the sewers and our services.
Correct.
So you have no association with that?
No, not at all.
Okay. Let me go through my notes just real quick here. Okay, yeah, actually good.
Thanks.
does the applicant wish to present any other witnesses?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I see that now is the time since this witness is done, for other people to present testimony? Or are you saying you have a question for this witness?
I have a question for this witness.
Okay, then give your name to the court reporter and ask a question to the witness.
Name, Maria Albrando, MariaAltebrando. My question is in regard to finding out if there's been any meetings with Light Heigl or the borough to find out how many parking spots you're going to be required to have to get your CO, and if it's something that Light Heigl would even approve you for.
Yeah, I talked to him about it, but he never got back to me yet about
So
that.
that's Light Heigl you've
Correct.
spoken to?
Mm-hmm.
And have you found out what requirements you have for parking?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, Light Heigl isn't a person.
Yeah.
So when you say you spoke with Light Heigl, who did you speak with? Because there is no person Light Heigl.
The building commissioner, or the Dave. What's his name? Dale. Sorry, yeah, Dale, not Dave. Dale. Sorry.
So you're not sure who you talked to, if you had to be coached by the witness?
I object to the characterization of being
3
coached.
weeks ago, I talked to him for a second.
You have to speak into the mic.
It was 3 weeks ago. I talked to him for a second. It was later in the day.
Jane Caroli, Jane, Janequairoli. I have a question that I find it odd that we were contacted about this by Chris Bainey because you didn't have time, but you did have time to call the engineer about parking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in here every day last week, too. I got more time off.
Okay, is this a question for that witness? And
My name is Jonathan Bawalik, Jonathan, he is in boy, Owalick. So you say that Palmyra is dying down at 5 o'clock, but you think it's gonna be easy to park downtown at 5 o'clock?
Sure.
Have you done any research about that at all?
I mean, I lived here my whole life. I grew up here. So that's enough research.
Okay, I have another question.
Sure. Fire.
You grew up here,
Mhm.
and you think that at 5 o'clock, the town is dying down?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the business hours are over technically, right?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Not at
this,
all.
okay, this isn't a conversation, okay? We've got a court reporter here, and she has to be able to do her job, okay, guys? Okay, yes, sir, give your name again.
Question as a follow-up to the council member's question. Joe Brenzer again. Mr. Nikovich, you said you have a lease with your brother for this building?
Yes.
On the terms of that lease, who's responsible for the water, trash, and sewage?
He is.
Pardon?
Chris is.
All right, that appears to be all the questions. So now is the time for people in the audience who wish to present evidence to council to present evidence. Okay? Mr. Ninkovic will not need that microphone.
And we'll bring everybody up to the podium.
Okay, that will make it easier.
So you can have a seat.
May I inquire of the solicitor that if there's evidence presented
If you wish to object, you may object, but remember, this is a hearing under the local agency law, and formal rules of evidence do not apply. If there is someone who wishes to present evidence, please go up to the podium, state and spell your name, and the court reporter will swear or affirm you.
My name is Pamela Roth, P-A-M-E-L-A-R-O-T-H. I do.
And maybe to keep a record going, you could state your address.
2095 Acorn Drive, Lebanon, PA 17042.
And Ms. Roth, what testimony do you wish to give counsel?
My testimony is that Christopher Bainey has been detrimental to my business. I own Sunrise Mobile Home Park. I have factual evidence signed by Judge Anthony Verna, awarding judgment to myself, Sunrise Trailer Court, against Christopher Bainey.
Okay, let's pause a minute, and these are all copies of the
Yes,
same thing?
yes.
Let's call this Roth 1. Which one? Okay, you don't want, then come and get it. Would you like to continue, Ms. Roth, now that what you've presented has been marked as Roth 1 by the court reporter?
Yes.
This matter is not about Christopher Bainey or the Sunrise Trailer Court tonight. It's about a request to transfer our liquor licenses to the Borough. Elmira by Ninkovich LLC, the principal of which is Derek Ninkovich.
Your objection is noted.
I have two statements. I do not want funds that should be in my bank account in Christopher Bainey's bank account for his next project. I no longer have him in my neighborhood, and I really don't think Palmyra wants him in their neighborhood.
Are there any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you. Is there another person who wishes to testify? Please come forward.
I do. Maria Altabrando. Spell it. Okay. I am the owner of Palmyra Academy of Dance, who has the parking lot that is full. It is extremely full. It's something we're there from 4 p.m. to 8:39 p.m. We have specific traffic patterns for our dance families, suggested traffic patterns for them to follow so that we don't back up the light too much. So I would like to just reiterate, there is no available parking at 1 West Main Street at any time of the day. In addition to that, just on a personal note, you all know, maybe Derek's not aware, but you all know that we have children there, and, the safety of those dancers, children age 3 through high school matter a lot. And, a restaurant is a restaurant. I'm really a person that supports businesses and people's passion and stuff like that. I wish there was not so much of a backstory with this, but I'm personally uncomfortable with the mixture. Having heard the, comments that have been made, the judgments, I just don't feel like it's a proper fit for our community personally, and for the fact that the dance studio is there, and, who our clientele is. That's my only statements. Thank you.
Are there any questions for this witness? Seeing none, is there another person who wishes to test?
Yes.
Hey, around 5, is it not busy?
It's extremely busy. Yeah. Full parking lot. Yeah, thank you.
Yes?
Do you mind if I sit? I'm generally very loud, so nobody's ever told me they can't hear me.
Okay, you need to be sworn or affirmed.
Will do, and I have some exhibits here, so you may want to have one marked. And as I identified myself before, my name is Jennifer Ruth. I'm an attorney at Smigel, Anderson & Sachs in Harrisburg. And for full disclosure, our office represented Mr. Ricky Bug Jr.
Let's stop and get it marked.
Got it.
And, yeah. There are copies here if you want a copy. All right. So are you lodging a relevance objection?
I will.
Okay, for the record, what has been marked as Ruth 1 is a judgment entered by the Lebanon County Court of Common Pleas in an action captioned Ricky Lee, Lee Bug, Bugg Jr. v. Just Wing It LLC. And there is a precipice to enter foreign judgment at that action, and attached to it is a certificate from the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania, and the docket sheets for Bug v. Just Wing It LLC. And that at the end has an affidavit by Ms. Ruth to the items being presented that was filed with the Court of Common Pleas, and the order from the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania, granting judgment and an award of attorney's fees and costs. And for the record, the judgment is $40,000 with interest, The attorney's fees are $72,552.50, and costs are $885.60. Excuse me? Yes.
I do. Thank you. You know, we just thought we received notice of this liquor license transfer into the municipality, and there were some news articles that surrounded that request, and we just felt that it was important, since, in particular, since Mr. Bainey was the alleged perpetrator in this particular incident, at a restaurant that he identified as his own restaurant during the incident that occurred in 2017 with Mr. Bug, and that the judgments still remain unsatisfied 3 years later, despite, I can assure you, the greatest of efforts by our office to secure Mr. Bug's money as well as our own. And I can tell you, these judgments were secured by what we call a default judgment, meaning our office filed a complaint on Mr. Bug's behalf, and Mr. Bainey nor anyone from Just Wing It LLC ever appeared. They never answered the complaint. They never responded to any orders from the court. They never appeared at any hearings. They've done absolutely nothing. We have served discovery in aid of execution, trying to get information that we could use to get money on these judgments, most importantly for our client. And I can tell you, Mr. Bainey has responded to, again, absolutely nothing.
And I'm going to object, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm going to object for purposes of the record. This line of testimony is not relevant to the proceedings for which we're here, nor is Mr. Bainey a party to these proceedings, nor is he named on the liquor license or his Ninkovich LLC.
Well, sure. And just in response, I mean, Mr. Bainey is a party to what we're doing here today, since Mr. Bainey is in fact the only applicant who applied for the intermunicipal transfer of the liquor license. Likewise, Mr. Ninkovich is, according to the Pennsylvania Department of State, co-owner of the business name Just Wing It. So he may claim that he is not, but again, the Department of State here in Pennsylvania, I believe it was filed in 2011, indicates to the contrary. So he clearly has, some ties to Mr. Bainey. And I also found it interesting in the article that the council here was going to ask to have some attorney's fees paid that go above and beyond what they felt was, regular fees that they would typically incur in this proceeding due to some issues with Mr. Bainey's request. And I just felt that it was important that council know, if you're making any requests for attorney's fees, get in line.
Does anyone have any questions for this witness? Seeing none, is there anyone else who wishes to provide testimony to council? Yes, you need to come forward to the podium, state your name, and be sworn or affirmed.
Joe Brinzer, Brinzer Wagner Law Firm. I so affirm. Okay. To the council, a little statement to start with. I'm not sure that I have a real great concern where this gentleman parks his license. I have a great concern where his patrons park their cars, however. And we own the building, along with my partner and I, with our wives, own the building where our law office is in, as well as a Palmyra pharmacy and gift shop. It's a small lot. There are times it's a very dangerous lot, getting in and out of there. Sometimes there's only 3 or 4 cars on the lot during the day. Many times, though, it is very crowded, because not only does our law firm use the lot with our clients, Palmyra Pharmacy and Gift Shop, in and out. Both they and us have a lot of elderly clients. And a lot of traffic on the parking lot gives them a lot of hassle. The scrub shop next door, some of their patrons use our lot. Guess what? U.S. Post Office uses our lot, and of course the pizza shop. There really is no room for any additional people using our parking lot. I'm also concerned about the fact at nighttime, if anybody is parking on our lot, the southeast corner, and they have a little bit too much, they're crossing a very busy highway at nighttime, which isn't always the best lit. And so we have a concern from that as well. The gift shop and pharmacy is open until 8 o'clock at night. So that is probably one of the prime times for a dinner crowd, I would think. So that is a concern. Another concern that we have is, it didn't come up much, not too long ago, a few years ago, I believe the pizza shop petitioned for a liquor license, and it was turned down. One of the concerns then is still a concern now. There are elementary school, high school, middle school students traversing there, crossing the street, crossing where this establishment would be. So yes, we are very concerned about primarily starting with the parking area, and we oppose that. As the gentleman said, he did not ask anybody yet about parking, and I will tell you, don't bother coming to us. We'll be glad to talk to you, but I can tell you ahead of time, the answer is no. Thank you.
And for the record,
Yes.
you haven't identified your property.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did mention briefly. We're in the southeast corner where the law office is, the second floor, Palmyra Pharmacy and Gift Shop.
But
I
the-
think our address is 2 to 22 East Main.
Okay, that was what I was asking
Okay.
for.
Thank you.
Were there any questions for that witness? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone else who wishes? Yes, sir, you need to.
Andrew Sattazin, A-N-D-R-E-W, last name Sattazin, S-A-T-T-A-Z-A-H-N. I do. I also have a statement on the parking. So I own parking lot at 29 East Main Street into 33 East Main Street. So we use that parking lot for 33 East Main Street tenants, and also we work the deal to help the neighbors beside us with the apartments. So as far as parking, we are very limited on parking as well, and do not want to have a bunch of extra cars parking and a bunch of phone calls to me, and nobody has a parking spot, because we have enough of that problem during the day.
You own the old Hostetter's building?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone who has questions for this witness? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone else who wishes to provide testimony to council? Okay, this is your last call. Council is considering this in an adjudicatory manner. The Pennsylvania Liquor Code has required that council hold a hearing under the local agency law. That means that council should be making its decision based on the evidence presented to it this evening. Council has the right to have an executive session to consult with its solicitor if it wishes to do so. Council has the right to render a decision tonight, and if council follows the procedure in the liquor code to inform the applicant in writing that council elects to render a decision in 60 days, council could take the matter under advisement to render a decision at its next public meeting. And one of the reasons I'm saying this is if council elects to take the matter under advisement, please do not call members of council to lobby them. It will put them in an uncomfortable situation because they will have to say that the borough solicitor said, I can't talk to you. And I prefer that council not be put in that position. Blame me if you want to, but please don't call council if council takes this under advisement. I don't know whether or not they will, but since they have that right, I want to make the statement that you can't lobby them outside of the hearing, and the applicant can't lobby members of council outside of the hearing either. So with that in mind, last chance, is there anyone who wants to say anything while the record is still open? Seeing none, I would, yes, sir, you need to come up, be sworn or affirmed, use the microphone.
Hello, I'm Ricky Bugg Sr. again. I don't think you, yes. I do. If I understand correctly, I can make a statement. I don't have a testimony, but a statement.
Well, a statement is testimony.
Okay,
You've
thank
been
you.
sworn or affirmed.
Thank you. You're the expert on the law. There you go. I just find it very strange. I'm a family man, love my family, have a brother, love him dearly. But if I notice that my brother had a lot of issues with the law, and I wanted something as serious as a liquor license, I wouldn't have my brother call to request, apply for that liquor license. That would just show to me a certain amount of irresponsibility on my part or poor judgment. Now, I allot for someone being younger and doing that versus me being my age. But at the same time, I just find that to be very, very strange. And I just have to make that comment because there's a lot, if you do some research, there's a lot of legal issues that you can find on Chris Boehne. And I understand that Chris is not the one here applying tonight, but again, if Chris is the one who called and applied for it, I see him as part of it. Whether I have any facts on that or not, he is still the one who called in to apply for the license. So that's the statement I wanted to make. And if you have any questions, I'm open to them. I don't know if that's appropriate, though, so.
Well, you've said it, so it doesn't matter. Do you have a question for?
No, I have a statement.
Okay, then please come forward and be sworn or affirmed.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. My name is Carol Light, and I'm not sure that I want to say this, but I'm going to say this. I read the article that was on Facebook and based some of my opinion on that and other news articles that I read pertaining to Mr. Boehne. And I commented on that thread, at which point Mr. Boehne told me that his lawyers were coming after me, that my brother also reached out to his attorneys, and he's coming after you for making a mockery out of this. At which point I told him that anything that I said was based on facts and that he was not going to silence me. And his response was, if I said anything else, he would publicly post my criminal history, one that I'm very ashamed of. but I did my time. I've made amends. I've changed my life too. And for him to use that as an intimidation to make me shut up shows what kind of character he has. And although Mr. Ninkovich proclaims that the relationship between him and his brother will not have anything to do with his business, communications that Mr. Bainey gave me in messages tells me otherwise. So I just want to state that that relationship does exist. He's told me what his brother's going to do. He's told me what he's going to do if I spout off any negative objection to the restaurant opening. And I just think that speaks to the character of the people that want to come into our town. And I don't think it's a good fit. And I only outed myself because it's public record. You know, criminal history is a public record. Just like everyone could look up Mr. Bainey's public record, they can look up mine. But I don't think that that should have been used as a way to try and stop me from speaking out and just voicing my opinion like everyone else here did. And that's my statement.
Is there any questions for this witness?
No question, but I have a statement.
Then-
Same as Mr. Bug, the legal jargon is not forte.
Okay, if you want to present testimony, come over, be sworn or affirmed.
I do. First, I would like to go ahead and say that I hope that your business is successful, truly. Being a small business owner myself, knowing that that's how I feed my family. And unfortunately, a lot of tonight's conversation is based off the sins of your brother. We are a brother's keeper. While I do not have a personal connection to Mr. Bainey, and I know that this isn't a trial, I am deeply disturbed, unfortunately, that we do have to have this conversation. But this is how we grow. I believe that in life we're able to learn from our mistakes, and I believe that we should be able to do so without judgment. I also believe that work must be done and highlighted that promotes change. Actions are always going to go ahead and speak louder than words. And as I opened up, I want your business to be successful. However, I just don't believe that that should be the case with their liquor license. As previously noted, the dance studio, the limited parking, I live on North Railroad Street. I have my babies on the street, and there are car accidents, unfortunately, more often than I would like to go ahead and admit. And a lot of that is due to reckless driving. I do believe that your business can be successful if you go ahead and do what you have to do. I just implore and suggest heavily to council members that that is done without a liquor license. And that's it.
Are there any questions for this witness? There is no later. Yes. Now or never.
I have a question for you. Knowing, I realize that you are not your brother. Knowing your brother's history, do you really think that it was appropriate to have him contact the borough about this? Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to give testimony? Yes, sir, come forward.
I do. Joseph Barone. As was mentioned already about parking, I'm one of the owners of 1 West Main Street. My daughter spoke up before. Regardless of the situation, people will do what they want to do. So let's say this goes through and we open a restaurant or a restaurant bar. Even though it's our parking lot and we say not to park there, there will be people that will not have a place to park because there are no parking spots. Before this meeting, I drove through the area again, even though we're part of the community. I drove around the buildings and I said, where are these clientele going to park? There is no place. But obviously clientele, they'll park. People from the pizza place come in our parking lot, people from across the street. We have to concern ourselves above all to, as my daughter stated, our students and our families. And we have over 200 students, probably 250, 300 students. And these families are coming in and out constantly up until the last class. And sometimes our light isn't clear until after 9:30. So there is no way to police that. And my concern is, and we want to see, obviously, we want to see Palmyra thrive. I never want to see an empty building. I'm a small business owner all my life. I grew up in business. My father had a retail store. We want to see Palmyra thrive. We don't want to see an empty storefront. But there are businesses that do not require many parking spots. You know, like a professional building, an accountant, a chiropractor, maybe a lawyer. You have one, two clienteles at a time. A restaurant, a bar is not that type of business. That's the only reason why I feel it's not a good fit. I don't wish any malice. I wish success for this gentleman. But we have to be realistic. And that's our lot is the only parking in the square, you know, of any consequence. And we have to be very protective. And God forbid we can't have anybody, an accident, somebody coming out of the bar and then getting into their car. And we have kids coming out of the building, going in, coming out, parents coming to pick them up. It's not a good fit. That's all I have to say.
Does anyone have any questions for this witness? Okay, it is now 8:30. Council has devoted 90 minutes to this. Is there anyone else? This is the last call.
I just want to, I own the building beside it, so.
Then come forward and be sworn or affirmed.
I don't have a right hand, so I can't really raise it, so I can do whatever you want. I do. Nate, N-A-T-E, Hartman, H-A-R-T-M-A-N. I own 60 North Railroad, commonly known as the Light Building, directly beside. You know, unfortunately, I think this seems to be like something about Chris is involved in this, Bainey. But my question, and just to clarify, I don't know if I can ask, from what I understand, is if it's not going to become a bar, it's going to become a restaurant in that area, correct? All right.
You can't nod. Nodding doesn't work.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was allowed to ask the question.
Well, you asked it and he nodded. We
Okay.
need to get on the record what's going on.
Good. All right, so it would be a restaurant. So I don't really know if I'm overly concerned about the liquor license because, to be honest with you, it seems like the problem is not Derek, but is the involvement of his brother, right? So I'm wondering to myself, if they don't have a liquor license, they still can get a restaurant in the area, from what I understand.
Well, that's not in the record. He has said he wants to have a restaurant. He has said that he spoke briefly with the zoning officer. I do not know whether a restaurant with that many seats
Good.
is permitted.
Gotcha,
So I
yeah.
don't want anyone in the audience to assume that there will be a 50 to 55 seat restaurant without a liquor license. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I'm saying there's been no determination that that's allowed by zoning.
Okay, okay, that's what I was just trying to clarify between, because it seems to me as I probably have the most affected property to this area. You know, it's literally right beside this corner area. I have 2 businesses downstairs, and I live on the top floor. I have 3 girls. And obviously, I want it to be that the area improves and becomes a better place. I just think that parking is definitely going to be an issue with this whole business plan. But to be quite honest with you, even my personal interest in the area, I don't necessarily know if like the liquor license particularly concerns me, because me being in like the whole building portion, there are so many hurdles to open up regardless. I mean, this is probably the easiest one. I don't think that they realize the hurdles that labor and industry provides when you're opening up and ADA access, et cetera. So I feel deeply, Derek, that you have this liquor license, but I feel like honestly, people are very, and even like your brother involved, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to have that corner, provide income to the tax. I would love that. And now it just looks creepy. I mean, and it's right in the square of our town, like what Maria did when we renovated that with Maria, that was a big thing. We did that building. I would love the corner property to be renovated, and if somebody could do it in a tasteful and safe manner, I would hope that we can go forward with that. Like I said, I was just confused if they did not get the liquor license, if something was still going to happen, because a lot of the testimony, things like that, I think surrounds the involvement with his brother. And I think that at the end of the day, he owns the building, right? So he's inevitably involved no matter what. So I guess mine was kind of a question, like I'm just right there and I'm seeing this all happen. And but I think solicitor, I think you answered my question. I just wanted to give some context behind it. So that's it.
Okay, are there any questions for this witness? Okay. Going once, going twice. There is no one else here, and I would recommend, no one else here with their hand raised, sorry, there's still plenty of people here. I would recommend that council make a motion to close the record.
I'll make the motion to close the record. Jim Teshay, T-E-S-C-H-E. I'll second it.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I would like to, do I make a motion for that?
Well, you're the president. If you want an executive
I
session,
don't make a motion.
you don't need to make a motion. You're the president.
To adjourn for an executive session.
no idea how long that will be.
Yeah, because her daughter's the same age as my guys. Yeah, they're all right around the same time with like in a month of each other.
Because I don't know if we're gonna make any kind of
Yeah, I know Ben for a long time. Well, actually, she knew Ben when I was first there. About a year ago, I emailed her, I think off of LinkedIn or something, because our office was looking for a paralegal. And I said I wanted to, one, know if she was working, and if she wasn't, if she was still involved with the Paralegal Association, to see, she knew of somebody that, because a lot of times, like, you'll know of somebody looking, and who better to tell you whether they're good or not, but. And they like a job bank or something. It's crazy. I can't believe your kids are so big already. It's crazy. I'm telling you, my daughter is like 10 going on 20. Yes. I'm like, I was telling my husband, I don't know what to do about Christmas, like, all the normal stuff, like, my daughter now wants, like, skincare products. She wants to, like, she has her little, like, bag that she wears, and, yeah, it's like, judgment.
Okay.
It has the exemplified record, has everything on there, and then if you look on here, it has, I'll show you. That's the name of the firm is right there, and that's me, Jennifer Elbrecht. And there it is, Miguel Anderson and Sachs.
Boehner and Nimkovich are listed as co-owners of the Just Wing It?
Of the Just Wing It, the name Just Wing It, they are associated with that name, and they are listed as co-owners.
Well, Just Wing It's a restaurant.
Correct, but I don't, the owner, he transferred, I think, the LLC to his girlfriend, but he and Mr. Ninkovich own the name Just Wing It, and he was affiliated with that restaurant.
He worked there.
Yeah, well, and he's a co-owner of that name. of
You
the
know what I'm saying?
restaurant.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, if you
So
go
he has
out-
you're trying to establish a relationship with the two, that's what
Correct.
you're saying. Okay.
If you go out to PA Department of State, watch, I'll show you. If you go out here and you do an entity search, and you put in Just Wing It.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Palmyra Borough Council back to order.
Just Wing It.
I would like to make a motion to have the up to 60 days for council to make a decision.
I understand.
And to notify or ask the borough manager to notify both Chris Bainey, who started this process, and Ninkovich LLC of that decision.
Second that motion.
All those in favor? Opposed?
The only thing for the record is that Borough Council did hold an executive session with the solicitor, with no one else in the room, to discuss legal issues. And I think that that is sufficient to conclude the hearing this evening. And you may want to give a 5-minute recess if people want to leave.
Probably could make it 2. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Oh, yeah.
the minutes of October 10th, 2023 Borough Council meeting. Approve payment of all bills listed on the September 2023 detailed checklisting report and approve the treasurer's report for the period September 1 through September 31, 2023.
I'll second to start. I have one question under D, reports D, the police department. I don't remember us agreeing that we would pay competitive salary to a new hire. I do remember it being that we agreed that it's an option.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it was an option.
Because
Yes,
it
it was
says
an option.
council agreed to pay a comparative salary.
Aha, good catch.
What? Well,
You didn't agree to that?
we didn't agree to.
Agreed that it would be an
pay it.
option.
No.
We agreed that we would.
Consider it, that we wouldn't consider
That
it.
should be considered.
So we get a cop for 10 years versus a new kid.
That we would, that,
So the sentence, council agreed to pay comparative salary is incorrect?
I think it is. I'm thinking that council agreed to.
didn't we say that,
That
I thought
we
I
would
thought we stated that we would
consider.
look at it more as an option
On a case-by-case basis.
if it came to it.
Right. That's kind of how I understood it.
Maybe if you just.
So what do you want it to say?
Something that
Council
covers
agreed
the
to
rookie
consider.
and experience.
Consider paying.
Consider paying.
Based off of experience.
Okay, we'll make that change.
Thank you.
Do you understand what we were saying, Brenda? Do you understand what we were saying?
You just tell me what it needs to say, because
Okay.
I read it and I
Okay.
get that. But
Okay.
then again,
Okay,
if
Gotcha.
you don't, then you
Okay.
tell me what it needs to
All right.
say.
all right, so
We have a first and a second.
you had the first with corrections, you have the second, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, action and discussion items. Amend chapter 350 Vehicles and Traffic, section 24, parking prohibited certain days, times, and hours. Discussion on if appropriate to authorize the borough solicitor to prepare and advertise ordinance number 827, an ordinance to prohibit parking Monday through Friday during the school year at the following times and locations: 8 to 9, 11 to 12, and 3 to 4, on South Forge Road from a point 125 feet north of the intersection of East Birch Street to the intersection of East Walnut Street on the east and west sides of the street. I'll make that motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Personnel, police officer suspension. Discussion on and if appropriate, suggested motion to authorize a one-day suspension without pay for police officer Timothy M. Lengel for violation of the Palmyra Borough Police Department Policy and Procedure Manual.
Who made the motion?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 2024 budget presentation and discussion.
All right. I just crossed that out.
We're not skipping it. He just said he's gonna be speedy.
I put in front of you a copy of the actual draft budget, which contains everything, the narratives, everything that you would normally get for the preliminary and final. So that's there, and also a copy of these slides are also in front of you. So this is the 2024 draft budget. We always try to make this, as it says here, a worst-case scenario, so, you know, what we're looking at shouldn't get any worse than what we're looking at right now. So, starting with the general fund, we're having a good year. Normally, we like to see about 700,000 left at the end of the year. We're projecting to have 937,000, so we're starting out on the plus side, which is a good thing. Some of the factors affecting the budget, we always go by the August Consumer Price Index for the Philadelphia-Wilmington region, and that turned out to be 3.9% this year. So that sets our police salaries, and we also offer that same salary increase to the non-uniform employees as well. So that's where that number comes from. Social Security's announced that they're going to have a 3.2% increase. Health insurance was interesting this year with looking at the regional department and keeping the police in-house versus having our own employees. The group that we're in with Benetcon, the PA Municipal Health Insurance Cooperative, they're experiencing overall as a group an 8.1% increase. We, on the other hand, are going to see a 15% increase. When we separated everything out for the regional department, it was almost like a 30% increase for the police as we moved them on their own, because their claims experiences are higher than what the non-uniform. Non-uniform is actually going to see a 16% decrease in premiums. Yeah, 16.1. So, but together, if the police are going to be together still with the borough for a portion of the year, it's going to be a 15% increase. So, and you see the premium costs that we're going to have monthly, $1,265.63 for a single and $3,084.38 per month for family coverage.
Can you remind me how much there's a copay, employee share?
Yes, that is on here. It's okay. The police pay $30 for a single as of next year and $50 per pay for the family coverage. Non-uniforms are paying $21.47 for a single and $35.10 per pay for family coverage. We're not looking like we're going to get surplus returns from Benetcon. In 2022, we had a $30,000 claim deficit, and we're looking at almost $47,000 in 2023. So not looking like we're going to get a surplus return for either of the next 2 years. We do not have our official insurance renewals for all our normal insurances for, auto, liability, property, et cetera. But they told us to bump our rates by 7%. So what's included in the draft budget is 7%. They think it'll be less than that, but for now it's in there as 7%. Propane particularly and gasoline costs are, of course, right now is volatile, but they're expecting a 10% increase as well. So we've adjusted those numbers in the budget accordingly. Overall, on a department level basis, the administration department's looking at an 11.2% increase. $491,489 was budgeted last budget. This year, it's $553,485. Our audit fee went up 43.3%.
The majority of that admin.
Probably. Legal services is going to go up 7.5%. Joe Zell didn't want to do it, but their firm was forced to, so we're going to be paying from $185 to $200 an hour, which is still cheap compared to the other attorneys that we've dealt with.
Doesn't happen very often, does it?
No,
Very few.
no, she doesn't have increases very often. Our computer services, fortunately, he said no increase for next year. We had a pretty significant increase last year, but no increase this year. We're in the last year of our website maintenance and hosting agreement, so that's still locked in. Engineering-wise, we've got a lot of projects going on, so we're looking probably to exceed what we had budgeted this year, so I thought I better bump the number for next year as well, just to make sure we have a little more room to have them involved. So I bumped them up to $75,000. Municipal building, it's an 8.3% increase, mainly because our parking lot is in desperate need of crack sealing, and then having the lines restriped. So I have one quote so far of $82.50 to do all that. That includes the firehouse areas as well and the area behind the garages over here. So that's the whole property. We just rebid our janitorial services, and Green Commercial Cleaning was again our only bidder, and they did not change their prices either. So that's staying the same. Police department's where it gets interesting because we've got all kind of things going on there. So if the regional department does go through, and these numbers can change, and Chief can speak to that if he wants to, but we're looking at like a 13.3% increase there if the regional goes through as a worst case scenario. We think the numbers will get better and we'll actually be in better shape, but we're not there yet. As it is, staying in-house to start the year, it's an 8.1% increase. And then some of the items that Chief's requesting is 4 bulletproof vests, $10,000 again to transfer into save for the countywide radio system, $11,000 to replace the department sidearms, and $4,300 to replace the tasers. And he still has $2,180 to carry over from this year for shotgun replacement as well. And then there's no vehicles being purchased this year, but their annual contribution for vehicle replacement's $33,389. Fire department we'll talk about later, since that's in its own fire protection fund. Code enforcement, we still have not hired the additional code enforcement officer that was in last year's budget because we didn't have any place for him to work, so we're in the process of that renovation project to make that happen. So hopefully at the beginning of this year, we'll be able to find somebody for that position. Emergency management is consistent, same cost every year for that. Public Works is actually going to see a 10.4% decrease because we were floating 2 extra positions, and we kind of figured like we only need 1 at this point, so we took 1 away. So that's the main reason for the decrease. So we're still looking for 1 more full-time skilled labor and hopefully even some seasonal part-time labor. Again, we talked about the fuel going up 10%. We have no vehicles that need to be replaced next year for Public Works, and their contribution to the replacement schedule is $125,248. Street lighting is going to go up 44% because of our electricity supply went up. Which is still 53% cheaper than what it could have been if we were with regular med ed rates. So we still have a great rate compared to what we could have.
Look at your own electric bills to figure that one out.
Yeah, that's true.
Snow and ice removal, the state salt contract went up 5.7% from $78.46 a ton to $83.06 a ton. And then we still are carrying over, we still did not get into the salt brine making business, and we would like to, so there's the money that we keep carrying over from year to year to get the salt brines set up and to also have a trailer to apply the brine to the roads when we get that made, so that's a carryover. We don't have any major sidewalk projects planned. There's no major storm drain projects that the Public Works crew would be completing next year. Road maintenance, again, $41,000, which is the same as last year for our crews to do some paving where necessary. And then the big expense, which we don't know the total cost yet, but the estimated cost for all the paving for next year, $721,000, and $230,000 of that will be paid out of liquid fuels. So the rest of it, $491,000, will be paid out of general fund. And I think, that number will be considerably lower once the bids come in a couple weeks. And then we do have a microsurfacing project scheduled for next year, $51,000 to seal coat Spruce Street from Grant to Forge. Because that's.
It's been that long since we did that.
Oh, yeah. It's been 8 years. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yes. I was surprised when I saw it. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's
I didn't think
amazing.
it was that long either.
I didn't either.
It seems like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
It does.
exactly. But no, it's not.
Wow.
So it's time for that. No major or minor purchases for them next year. For parks, the $30,000 that we talked about in previous meetings to remove and replace the Heritage Park basketball courts included. And Councilor Miller wanted me to include his downtown flowers and I adjusted it for inflation, so that's up to $22,600 now for the downtown flowers, so.
1 cent a day is all it costs, folks. Investing 1 penny a day for something that'll provide super rewards for the town. I mean, if you think about it, you put the perception in there.
You had to use his name, didn't you?
Well,
Yeah.
But if you think about it, isn't the town worth spending 1 penny a day to start the spark that might encourage the town? Even like Mr. Hartman, when he was up there speaking, he was very adamant, said, we really need to do something to get our downtown revitalized. And this could be the spark. And I'm telling you, well, even if it is parking, but we still have other restaurants that don't have parking either. But even if it's only for a different business that's not a restaurant, I mean, if you get the perception when you drive down through this community and all of a sudden they see this and they go, wow, this is a great town. I'm only looking at this from the perspective of the town. Is the perception, is it worth 1 penny a day? And you look at it and you say, my God, this town has a lot of, you know, care. They really provide this like ambiance, and it will pay dividends down the road. And I'm very serious, guys.
I know you
It'll
are.
pay-
I know
it'll
you are,
pay
and-
dividends that is no end.
Presentation, we have,
So,
we have
but, okay.
a month and a half to discuss the budget.
But that's all I'm trying to tell you. It's
I
1
know,
cent a day.
and you are very passionate about it,
It's less
and I
than 1
appreciate
cent.
that.
It's less than 1 cent.
Oh, you know me, I just can't stop. And Tom and I haven't had a good rap for a while.
Sure.
I do find it ironic that you're okay with spending $22,000 on flowers, but not $100,000 on police protection.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Sorry.
enough.
I really
Enough.
don't.
Come on, guys. Back to the
really don't.
presentation.
Debt service, we have our $6.8 million bond, the payment's $445,000 this year, which is a little less than last year, but the amortization schedule is always about the same, so. And I just wanted to point out that 2039, that bond will be paid, so 15 more years to go. That'll be
Hey, we're
gone.
getting there.
That'll be gone, so.
You don't look it.
Again, we have the
She said she will be.
We have the $100,000 to transfer into the capital reserve fund for future capital projects, and the transfer due to the employee benefits fund this year is $147,07. So what's that all boiled down to when you look at the general fund? It's a shortfall of $326,426. So when you figure that out millage-wise, I showed the calculation there. It's 0.56 mils. Which when you boil that down per year for the average assessed property owner at 152,448 is $85.54 a year, or $7.13 a month. So that's what you're like. I think,
What was it last year?
I think once it was more than that when we started.
Okay. I don't have my thing with me.
I think we're gonna be in good shape once we get the paving bids in. Last year, the paving bids came in really well, and I think they will again this year, because I'm using Ritu's estimates with their 10% contingency already included, so it's really inflated, I think. So I think that's gonna save us quite a bit, and I think the police will be able to work some magic and save some money there too. So I think we're gonna be pretty close to being balanced by the time those two things work themselves out. At least I hope so. And if the flowers stay in or not, that'll help too. So I just had to throw that in there.
Roger, we're trying to get out.
Okay, sewer fund. Sewer fund, we started this year with $258,000. Fund balance as of the end of September is down to $137,370. And we're looking like by the end of the year, it'll go back up to $375, so that's what we're looking to start with next year. So for next year, we have projected revenues of $2,077,856 and expenses of $2,034,411. So that's an unappropriated balance of plus $43,445. So we're in good shape with the sewer. We'll actually be able to make a transfer into the sewer fund next year, which we haven't been able to do for a couple years. So $167,580, and we're still going to have $43,000 left over, hopefully. So our $98 per quarter sewer rate is good, and that will last for next year and probably another couple years. So we're looking good in sewer. Refuse fund, however, is a little bit different. We started out this year at $173,042. The fund balance is about the same, $170,351. And we're projecting that we'll have only $104,936 left at the end of the year. So next year, we have, with the waste management collection fees are going up by 3.9%. And when you factor that in, and our hauler contract is going to expire this time next year, so we will have to rebid that in the wintertime. And from what we've seen everywhere else, those contracts are a big increase. So I kind of factored in some extra money for those last 2 months of next year under the new hauling contract. So with that said, I'm proposing that we take the quarterly refuse fee from $83 to $89 a quarter, effective January. And then the single bag program would go up $50 to $54 per quarter. So that's about a 6.7% increase. Fire Protection Fund started the year with $6,300. The fund balance as of the end of September is $169,000. And we're projecting by the end of the year to still have $45,392. The fire company, at the Fire Commission meeting last week, presented the fact that apparatus costs are going through the roof, and their next major purchase isn't until the year 2032. But the wagon at that point will cost probably $1.2 million. So if you do the quick math, the apparatus fund needed to be increased. We basically, us and the township, need to put $150,000 in starting now to get to $1.2 million by then. I looked at these numbers. We're getting a little bit more revenue than we expected from the millage rate, which is good. So we can actually figure in that $75,000 for us. That it's an extra $35,000 per year. But we don't have to raise our rate for that. We can incorporate that. And the township is agreeing to also up theirs to $75,000. So we're going to be putting in the $150,000 for that replacement. So that's good news, because you're not putting that on the backs of people at a higher expense down the road. So that's good. And there's no impact to us with that. So that's a good thing. So the 0.6 mil fire tax is fine for this year and hopefully next as well. Special sewer fund, not much going on there. It's pretty much just the investment account for sewer capital projects. Again, we're just transferring some money in. We'll get some interest. And we'll probably see a couple tapping fees, hopefully, if there's a couple more buildings built in the McIntosh Crossing development. So we'll see what happens there. So basically, we're just growing that fund next year, which is good. There shouldn't be any expenses. Capital Reserve Fund, we've got all kind of stuff going on in this. So we're starting this year at $1.8 million. We did transfer in $100,000 from the general fund this year, and we also made the transfers for the vehicle replacement. Well, I'm sorry, that's for next year, is $160,784. So that will be transferred in. Vehicle number 6, we should get by the end of this year, which is the 1-ton dump truck and plow and spreader. So we will have the old one to sell next year on municipal bid. So the residual value I'm showing there is about $20,000 to $25,000. Yes, I am. I see that.
Yeah, I hope it's not $25.
And the $25, no. The American Rescue Plan Act funds that we received a couple years ago, $796,000. We have projects that are eligible for that. You already approved the borough-wide geophysical study as part of it. It was $220,000. And then the balance of this will go towards the Phase A stormwater project. So we should be able to have all those funds earmarked by the end of 2024, which is going to be required, or we'll lose those funds. So other expenses, Public Works, again, we talked about this. We're carrying over the $21,000 for the trailer that would be needed to pre-treat salt brine. The municipal building renovations project started in October a couple weeks ago. Will carry over into maybe April or May of next year, so I'm showing about $161,000 left on that contract. And there'll be some change orders coming with that because we eliminated a big scope of work with not doing the locker room. So that number's going to change. I don't have that number yet, but we will get a change order for the reduced cost. We have to pay a little bit of a penalty, but it's going to be a lot less than actually going through and reconfiguring the locker room. So hopefully before we have the final budget, we'll have those hard numbers to include. The municipal building HVAC controls, we got 4 quotes, all from CoStar's dealers. They ranged from $150,000 down to $69,000. So we're still working with them to make sure that everybody is quoting the job the same. Because some included the exhaust fans that run on mechanical timers and some did not. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we make the final decision. But I do have, $87,100 is like the average of the responsible bidders so far. So, again, we'll firm those numbers up moving forward. The Phase A stormwater construction is out for bid. The bids are due Thursday, November 16th. Anybody's guess what they're going to be. Estimate is anywhere from like $775,000 to $1 million. So it'll be curious to see what we get for that. And again, the ARPA money will fund probably 3/4 of that. So we'll see what that brings. Again, we already talked about, we have some money left that we're still owe ARM Group to finish the borough-wide geophysical study. That should be delivered to us here in a couple months, probably right at the beginning of the new year. We always budget $100,000 out of the capital reserve for emergency sinkhole repairs, so that's also included. So with all that activity, all the money coming in and going out, we'll still hopefully have a fund balance of $1.4 million when the year is done. So that's good news too. Liquid fuels, we get about $220,000 a year from the state, so we use about the same amount to go out, which leaves about the same fund balance every year. I always like to keep a little extra in liquid fuels because sometimes, like North Londonderry will do a job that crosses the municipal boundary, then we're able to add that to the job while they're doing it, and it saves some money that way. So we should have about $39,000, $40,000 left in that fund at the end of next year. Employee Benefits Fund, we started this in 2018 to start putting money aside as our auditors recommended to save for the retirement payouts for banked PTO for the employees. And we're making really good progress. I was surprised when I saw this number, but we'll be almost 93% funded by the end of next year. So maybe only one more big year of funding, and then we can start backing that off a little bit each year. So, and just replace that as needed. So that's really good news.
And that's we're at 93% for 55.
That's for the 55, yes. So we're fully funded, so that's good.
Good.
So that's it. That's the end of my presentation. So we have an extra week in the schedule this time, so we don't meet again for 2 weeks. So you have plenty of time to go over this, and then the next meeting we can argue about all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Always good times.
Get your highlighters and your posties out. Okay. President's report. Just want to wish everybody a safe and happy Halloween and trick-or-treat night on Tuesday. It was Tuesday night, right? Yeah, it is Tuesday night. All right, that takes us to the financial report. Financial statement was in our packets. Anybody have any questions on that?
Just so you guys know, I did have one question, which Roger answered. On page 17, 8.429.231 main generator fuel. That was a huge amount of money. Well, here I found out that's not done every year. Is it
No, we kind of order that when it's needed.
when it's needed?
It's not on a.
And of course, probably when it was originally, that's hard to budget when you can't. I mean, it's hard to budget fuel, period, anymore, but, so just in case you were wondering.
The other part of that too is we had a power failure down there for a while, and that generator was running for like a week and a half at a time. So that was the other part of that too. I forgot to mention that to you earlier.
Okay, Fire Services Commission, I forgot to bring my notes. Roger, do you want to fill them in? I apologize.
Well, we already talked about the apparatus. That was the second part of the meeting. The first part of the meeting was the incentive program. It gained us, what, about 0.8 man-hours per call?
About one person.
So it's at least an ad, it's not, so he's stemming the tide of volunteerism, but, and what else did he mention? There is an effort of the Northern Lebanon County Regional Departments to form an actual regional fire department, so he's gonna be meeting
There's
with
some
them.
departments that actually want to talk.
That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
That might help that apparatus fund in the long run.
I think that was, I can't remember anything else.
I think that was the main.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Anything else for fire department? Library report, it has it in our packet. Any questions on that?
You can email me if you have questions.
Thanks, Jane. All right, police department.
Any questions on monthly statistics? Nothing else, only thing is, early to that grievance, we talked to the labor attorney at the end of the day.
Andy, Andy, can you please turn on your microphone and put it to your mouth? Thank you.
I thought I was talking loud. Any questions on the report? Okay. We talked to the labor attorney about that grievance. At the end of the day, it's just cheaper to pay the grievance and be done. Because we'll spend way more money going to arbitration and everything else that it would be worth, so.
But that was for the overtime for the court, for the
Yeah.
court appearance, so it was
For
better.
the person that resigned and didn't retire, yes.
Alright.
So, but he said ideally, till you spend the money to do the arbitration and everything else, it's just cheaper to pay the hearing and be done.
Anybody have any? Next commission meeting is, no, never mind. Was October 11th. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions?
The next Regional Police Commission meeting is actually November the 9th.
Thank you.
It would be on the schedule for the 8th, but Annville Township has a township meeting because of election being on the 7th, so everything has moved. Now we'll be meeting on the 9th.
Right, okay.
Anything else for police department? No, okay. All right, that takes us to the Recreation Commission. We don't have our report yet, yeah, we don't have our report yet, okay. Solicitors report. She gone, we don't have anything, okay. Borough Managers report, municipal building renovations update.
Not much really to add. I mean, they started a couple weeks ago. They're making progress. They're working mainly on the police side right now with the evidence room, and that's pretty much it right now. They've got that framed out. They did do some things on our side to get ready for the new office. Not much, just some framing and some insulation. Every little step they have to get inspected. It's amazing to watch how these guys have to work. And they put in 4 studs, somebody has to come inspect it. Then they can put one side of the drywall on, somebody has to inspect it. Then they come back and put the insulation in, they have to get the insulation inspected. Then they can seal up the other side of the wall.
And wait a minute, we're paying prevailing wage for all of
Oh,
this?
yeah, it's interesting. It's great. So, but like I alluded to before, we'll have a pretty big change order coming from them for the reduction of the scope of work. So hopefully we'll get that pretty soon.
All right.
And I should add, Kinsley's been great to work with. Their guys, it's so much different than what we dealt with before when we built this place. These guys they're really professional and very organized and really easy to work with. So kudos to Kinsley. They're doing a good job. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, anybody have anything under Borough Manager's report? Okay. All right, no communications, any other business?
One question. Car wash. Anything up with the trees that are supposed to go on? We're still holding that?
Yeah, we didn't release the financial security, so.
And there's been no news on if they're going to. I guess they just need to do what they need to do and then apply to get that money back.
Right, they have to request it, so, otherwise they have to hold the money and pay on it, so it's on them, yeah.
Thank you.
Chief, Bill, Don?
We had a communication sent to us from the school board. What does that have to do with the borough council? And why do they want us to attend? To approve their increase, or?
Sorry, but let me tell you what I heard, right from a school board member. They are.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Yes, yes. Bring the microphone.
Oh,
to your
really?
mouth. You need to share this
We want these
information.
people to hear this on YouTube.
So let me tell you this. I heard from a school board member that they are out of space and they are looking at all the new building coming around here. The options are $135 million for renovations or $155 million for a new high school, and then they would move the middle school to the high school, and then this would become an elementary school. Yeah. So I'm a little perturbed that they are having it on a night that we have a council meeting. But if any of you could go, I probably would.
South Londonderry
Tell you.
meeting as well, that way.
Yeah.
So we couldn't attend anyway. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Can't we move our meeting to another?
No, they're already published. So there you go. $85 looks pretty much a lot better than what our school taxes are gonna look like in another year or two. And I don't like the $85.
One or two of us could show up.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could have one or two
I was
go
gonna
as
say
a
one or two
representative.
of us could go.
Yeah.
Because there'd still be a majority here.
But it's budget time, though, that's the
Yeah,
problem.
there's no,
We don't have any say.
there's no
Well,
point in
there-
it because,
We
I
have
know.
to have an appointment to talk anyhow.
yes,
Yeah.
we've been down that road before.
Yeah, and has anybody ever asked them what happened to the quarterly meetings that we were supposed to be having with them?
Oh, they're not doing them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the other we were like the only ones that were, wanted to continue it. South Londonderry thought they were worthless, and North Londonderry didn't even show up to their first one, so they just kinda. Hmm? We only had one. We had one, yeah, that was.
Good to know.
Yep, well,
To know.
we have, no one from the borough is on the school board. We are a small entity of the three groups that are within it. So you have South and North Londonderry, which are building all around the circumference of the town. And most of those folks have the kids that are in school. So we can complain all we want, but it's gonna go through.
Actually, I think we have one person on school board, Mary Ann Senior. Didn't she a borough resident? I thought she was a borough
Yeah,
resident.
and, since we have no influence there, it's gonna pass.
Part of the
There's no way to
problem
stop it.
lies within the state, I believe. I was told by an ex-president of the school board at one time, who was my boss, that the state or someone regulates how much percentage over what you actually need you can build the building for. So they can't build it too much bigger than what is allowed. So down the road, it's gonna cost more money because we didn't project
Yeah,
what we're
offices.
doing out in the fields, building all these new houses. You can't do it that way.
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem too, bureaucracy.
I'm just questioning what $155 million building looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Because legal
One-
was.
State of the art.
20 years old?
135. Wasn't it 135?
State of the
No,
art.
135 is for the renovations to the
Oh,
buildings
okay.
they have.
And it was 155 for the new.
Brand new.
For a new building.
They're gonna go new, of course.
Of course they're gonna. Where are they gonna put it?
It's a no-brainer.
From what I understand, they were talking about right next to the current high school. And then that way they could have high school and.
Middle
I
school.
forget if it was like seventh grade in the old high school.
Middle school, high school, okay. Yeah, campus.
I was
campus.
gonna say, maybe they should just turf it or pave it with gold in between the two buildings.
Should get a new football stadium.
Okay, any other business? Don? Anything?
I'm done.
Tom?
Hey, well, after we talked about 155 million, 1 penny a day sounds like a hell of a bargain to me. Now listen, I will be here, I will not be here next for the discussions that we have, so I gotta kind of fit them in right now. So please consider that. Seriously, it'll do the community well.
We do
Hopefully.
have more than one meeting to discuss the
That'll be
That's
the
true.
last thing we
So,
cut out. We'll wait for you to come back.
I will do the, thank you very much. And that's it. Pass it on to you guys.
Jane, you got anything else? Anthony? Roger?
No.
Brenda? Okay. Public comment period number 2. Please state your name and address for the record and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Going once. Going twice. Okay. Public comment period number 2 closed. Borough Council will conduct its next public meetings on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023, and Tuesday, November 28th, 2023, beginning at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn.
First was who?
It was, yeah.
Jane and Anthony.
And Anthony?
Didn't even let her finish.
No, you didn't. It was a little rude. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Good meeting tonight, folks. You guys did good.